Welcome to the Focus on Why podcast. I'm Amy Rowlinson and I ask my guests one simple question. Why? Focusing on the importance of why, I share with you the relatable, uplifting and inspiring conversations I have with people from all walks of life. This podcast will encourage you to focus on your why to enable and empower you to achieve the success you desire. Have a purpose, have a plan, focus on why. Today on the Focus on Why podcast, I am joined by Priya Kripalani and Jasmine Dosanjh. Welcome.
Thank you. You said both of our surnames so well. Yay.
Well, I had a tiny little practice just then in my head, just before I was about to say it, but it's really important to get people's names right, don't you think?
It's so important. Jasmine, actually more so than me, gets her name wrong.
All the time. Yeah. I've had it all, and I'm really not sure.
It's like the easiest name. It's after a princess.
My first name and my surname all gets done wrong. I got today from an agent, it was Jasmine. I was like, I just can't. Okay.
Or she gets Yasmin, which is my favourite because she absolutely hates that.
Yeah, I get called Yasmin a lot. So it's very annoying.
That's a Persian name, isn't it?
It is. It's just, I think it's a sign of respect just to get somebody.
It's a beautiful name, but it's just annoying when people call you the wrong name.
It's just not my name. Yeah. It's a beautiful name. Just doesn't happen to be mine.
When you were saying that her name is a princess's name, I was thinking Princess Dosanjh. I don't know.
Yeah. Princess Dosanjh. I'm just thinking the same. I was like, who is she talking about? Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's just get on cracking. What is it that you two are doing right now?
So Jasmine and I began working together 3.5 years ago now. We have our own portfolio and property individually and with our respective families, and now jointly together. So we kind of were introduced by Jasmine's other half, who was my best friend, now doesn't really have much to do with me because Jasmine's taken over. But so we were introduced. I got made redundant and Jasmine was in property full time, and I didn't really know anybody in property. So he was like, why don't you meet Jasmine, kind of have a chat and see what happens? And I think the first few times I said no. And then the third time he actually just put me in a WhatsApp group with Jasmine and then left. So I was like, well, now I have to speak to her. We arranged a couple of meetups, and then we kind of started more networking events together and like helping each other learn more about commercial conversions, which is kind of one of our big goals currently.
It's where we're at the moment. So a lot of our focus, obviously COVID has kind of taken a little bit of a hit to our business, but we have been focusing, and our kind of fun factor of property for us at the moment is kind of doing either resi to resi conversion, so like a big house into flats, or kind of the bigger office or the care homes into flats, which has been super fun for us, and that's what we're focusing on at the moment.
So what do you think it was that the friend saw that you two would get together and it would just work?
I don't think he ever envisaged this.
No, he never envisioned this.
He likes to take credit for it now.
Yeah, he definitely does. However, it was more, I think, the fact that I was already in it, and I think Priya, obviously being of a similar age, and she was making the move from kind of corporate life into property, and was also working alongside her dad. And for me, I had done the same, and I also have a portfolio with my mum, so I think he saw a lot of synergy, and I think he just kind of was like, well, why don't you kind of help her, or kind of just have like,
I think it was
have a sounding board for each other. I honestly think to this day that he was trying to find somebody so he wouldn't have to listen to me moan. Mm-hmm. I am convinced that is what would happen. I'm super convinced that he thought, okay, finally someone can listen to Jasmine moan about what's going on, and Priya will now understand because she's also going into property.
I think it happened very organically. It was never a plan, never something I ever forced. I was very of the mindset I would never really have a business partner. I'm quite independent when it comes to my work, more so, and never thought we would end up working together. And I think we spent a lot of time together and realised that our thought process and our goals were very aligned. So it kind of naturally just happened organically, which is, I think, nicer than kind of, you meet people actively looking for joint venture partners or business partners, and it kind of just happened for us. Yeah. We always joke around and say it was a bit like we were dating. Now we've ended up in a relationship, which is probably more annoying than having a partner.
So how is it? How does it work between the two of you? What are the roles and responsibilities that you share or divide between you?
So from the start, we were basically, there was nothing that one would do that the other one was not involved in. More so a lot on the commercial side of things. And if Priya went somewhere, I would go. If I went somewhere, Priya would go. We'd go on all viewings, and it was all just both of us involved. And I think when life has happened, especially over the last year and a half, we have both realised that actually we both don't enjoy the same parts of the business, and we are both not good at the same parts of the business. We decided to continue to do every single bit of the journey, just so that if one of us was getting married or going on honeymoon, or one of us was, I don't know, taking a 3-month trip around the world, that the other one was able to fill in the gaps. But for the moment, it's more at the moment a tag team of who is where, when, and who has the time available to do what. And I think that's just kind of what's happened.
That's happened a lot in the last year or so, especially now we kind of know what we enjoy. So for example, I prefer numbers, Jasmine prefers floor plans. We're kind of not going to get on each other's toes more so. I also think it's over time our trust and confidence in one another has built up. So I don't need to be involved in everything that Jasmine's involved in, vice versa. And it's also more time effective for us to focus on different parts of the business. And we actually work better that way now, I think, because we're less on each other's.
So we would like divvy up jobs. So it might be, say if we're doing social media, it might be that Priya takes it for a week and then I take it the following week. So it's all, for us, it was never so much about what jobs are being taken, just so that the work is being spread evenly.
And what is it about property that drew you both in?
I feel like you might not like my answer to this question.
I don't feel like you'll like mine either. It wasn't like,
I love property. I love a house.
We're still like that. We're not like, oh my God, I grew up one day and I just thought I'm going to own all the buildings and I just love tenants and I just absolutely love reflect.
I do find that really strange how people think that. But I have a little cousin, she's 16 and she cannot wait to get into property. And I just think to myself, what possessed you to ever think that was fun?
Maybe you did something that made her feel that actually it's so much fun.
She's even said it before me doing it. So I'm just like, I don't, I was never the kid that said, oh, I want to be a doctor. And that was the first and foremost. Like, I don't understand how some kids are so set on. I ended up in property probably accidentally, got made redundant, started working with my dad on his portfolio, developed my own portfolio for my savings, and kind of know that it's a means to an end for me.
Yeah.
It's not my kind of passion project. I've always kind of very much so wanted to be in events or hospitality. So something along those lines would potentially be the future, and property will enable me to get there. But for the meantime, for the next 5 to 10 years, property is the focus, and we do enjoy it. Don't get us wrong.
We definitely enjoy the commercial side, I think, a lot more.
Yeah.
I think seeing something start to finish that challenges you there is something really great in it. I mean, we can talk about money all day long, but you can buy a buy-to-let, make sure money, it's not exciting. There is something quite satisfying about buying a building and seeing it absolutely derelict and it being a different use class, and you kind of go through all the planning and you see it come to fruition, and then you've made homes for people. There's something really, really quite...
It's also the challenge.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
Yeah, and every project is so different. Even just analysing projects, we might not get into the deal for whatever reason, but when you're looking at the project, looking at the floor plans, understanding the area, the planning constraints,
we like to see how we like to kind of be like, well, why doesn't it work? Like kind of almost deciphering it. But I think the long-term goal for us both, I got involved into property because it was always said to me to like never rent, like make sure you have a backup, and it just kind of made sense to constantly, if I had money to put it in, my mum was like, I'm not going to charge you rent at home, but your money that you're making has to go into something smart. And I guess because my mum had bought a few properties on the side of her main job, it made sense for me to kind of just do the same also. But I think that we've had this conversation. We think that property is going to be our kind of our just income, and when we kind of get to a certain age and we have the time and availability, that we'd like to kind of go into different business ventures or back different businesses. And that's
not necessarily be 100% involved with them.
Yeah.
I currently, through COVID, have had like a brainwave that I really want to have a dental practice and an aesthetics clinic. But that's just, I know nothing about that, but I can back it. I can run the business. I can be the brains behind the business.
So we think we'd like to kind of almost
do something different
in different
and diversify.
businesses.
Yeah.
So property for us is just a means to an end.
I'm sorry, Amy, if you thought that we loved builders, agents, and contractors
and tenants,
because we hate them all, really. No, joking.
Look, I get it. I was the same with my property portfolio building. It was a fuel to get me to where I am now, and it still is. I enjoy, as you, I enjoy the projects. I enjoy that, the transformation. It's that whole ugly duckling scenario, isn't it? You know, oh, I know what it's going to look like, just you wait kind of thing. And then you actually fulfill that and you show people with. So that for me, I get that challenge side of things. You mentioned about being a certain age. What does age mean to you?
What does age mean to me?
I actually probably in hindsight's a powerful tool and probably don't use it enough, wish that I never let my age get to me when I first started, because I was a very, very big knocking kind of my confidence factor for me. And when you go into a networking room, especially in property, it's a very male-dominated industry, a very middle-aged kind of industry in the kind of London networking meets, especially where we were and where we live. Even the agents, they're a lot more older than us. They were kind of a lot more all male, all kind of, and I also look a little bit younger than I am, which didn't help my case a lot. And that did knock my confidence. Sometimes I would completely shut down talking to an agent just because that was just me as a person. And knowing what I know now and knowing how I do things now, I wish I believed in myself and didn't believe my age had such a hindrance to my progression, essentially.
I concur.
I'm not sure if I answered the question.
No, I concur. The age has definitely been, I don't know. I mean, the culture that we come from, age is something that is constantly mentioned. Your age, get married, make sure you do this by a certain age, make sure you do this by a certain age, follow this by a certain age. I think it's constantly drummed into us about our age and etc. So I think that it has played quite a big, there's been a lot of our conversations based upon our age or where we are or what we should be doing. And I think that even if you take age out of it, I think we all end up comparing our age, our gender, what we've achieved, what we think we've achieved in comparison to someone else who's achieved X, Y, and Z. I think that in the last 2 years, we've both been quite brutal with one another about actually it doesn't really mean anything anymore. It does for us. It's more about hitting a goal of when we get married or when we have kids or when we decide we want to live in a dream home. That's kind of where we're setting our goals and boundaries for now, not so much determined by an age, but more determined by an actual tangible goal.
But I think in the learning process to get where we have got, it's been a huge disabling factor.
Definitely, it's huge.
I think only realistic. We had this conversation a few days ago. I was the less confident one than Jasmine was, and kind of the one to shy away from. If I met you, Amy, in a networking event, I probably would not say hello to you. I'd probably be on my phone or looking in my book or just doing anything I can not to talk to you.
She definitely used to pretend to go to the toilet.
Definitely,
a lot at networking events when she definitely was not going to the toilet.
But at least I own it. Like I admit to these things. Yeah,
you're admitting it on a Zoom call. I'd really like to see if you admitted it in person.
No, I would. But what I'm trying to say is now, I think in COVID, we also stopped networking during the pandemic. I was also then forced to network over Zoom. As much as people think Zoom is it's a hindrance, it's not as nice as meeting people in person, but it has given me a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
And it's enabled now. We went to a networking event a few weeks ago. It was a very small networking event, very local to us. And it did not faze me talking to a new person. Jasmine, to Windsor.
Oh, yeah.
Jasmine walked left, I walked right. Normally she walked left and be like, why are you leaving me? What are you doing? What's happening here? And now I feel like it's not even in my head to stop myself from speaking.
Now it's actually, we should split because we can talk to two different people and we can, it's potentially better for us to actually not be, and that was kind of a massive shift for us. But yeah.
But the change in why I think I was so unconfident or kind of not comfortable with speaking predominantly was because of my age in the room. I was always like the little girl.
You have a couple of people that, you know, I think we're never quite sure if it's an age, a gender, and unfortunately sometimes in our situation we have to look at, is it an ethnicity problem? So when we walked into a room I felt it quite a lot, because obviously I started investing when I was 19. For me, when I was in an area that was quite affluent at the time where I was buying, and it was just quite, the tones were quite disrespectful or quite dismissive. And I think for me, that's kind of stuck. If I feel dismissed, I'm not good at handling. Oh, I'm better now, but
I'm much better now. Whereas
if I felt dismissed, I'd kick off.
Down.
I would kick off.
I would shut down.
Yeah, and it was we've now found a way that actually we've realised that it's only one person's opinion, and it's not.
But it's also a reflection of the other, and that's what's taken us a long time to learn. It's also we are selling our commercial conversion project, and Jasmine was in Plymouth at our other site, and I was in Eastbourne. And this guy my dad actually drove me, because my mum and dad took me to the site because
they wanted a day out to the sea.
They wanted a day out, but also we had been driving every day that week, and I was just, tired of driving. So my mum and dad were like, "We'll come with you." My mum and dad were like hanging out in the drive, and I was obviously selling our building, selling our project, giving it my all. And this guy was giving me nothing back, like nothing. And I was thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? He then understood that I had a father in property. I come from a degree in economics. Oh, my child's got a degree in economics. Oh, that's amazing. Okay, cool. So now, once he's found out, things that I personally give me no credibility, you don't need a degree. You don't need to have a family in property. You can learn off your own merits and start in property with not going to university. So for me, these are factors I'm so privileged to have had, but it also doesn't
irrelevant to the building,
irrelevant to my project, irrelevant to what I'm doing here. But as soon as he started to find out a little bit about me, he then changed. He started to be really engaging, and he gave me that credibility. But for me, those things are not important. And now I look at it as a reflection on him, and that's his thought process. I could speak to anybody at any point in time about Denton Road and would never feel a way, you're lesser or whatever. So what I'm trying to say is I think age has been a huge factor for us in the past, but now we've kind of come to terms with it, and it doesn't.
Maybe we both turned 30 and just thought, who cares?
The white hairs did it for me, I think.
I think that's what it was. I think we both turned 30 and thought, well, who cares?
I feel really old.
Yeah.
So
who cares at this point?
No, it was really interesting because you said the whole thing was about that you were going to get to a certain age and then you're going to invest in different businesses. And that's where I asked the question, what does age mean to you? And then clearly it's quite a hot topic.
It's ever evolving for us, I think. I mean, it's like the question when somebody asks you, like, how much is enough? And I think the answer to that question is never. Like,
it's very personal dependent, isn't it?
But it's never. But I think as entrepreneurs, as business owners, I think the answer is it's never enough, because I might stop increasing or stop growing my business for 5 years. But in my 6th year, I might decide that, okay, I would like to send my kids to private school, or I would like to buy a holiday home in the Bahamas. So your goalposts change. And then you have the ability to add or grow and change. And I think that for us is just an ever evolving conversation. We think that we know, but at one point I would like to move out of the country. It's not something but you know this. I don't know why I'm making a face, but wherever it's definitely a thought for me. So in the back of my head, I want to make enough money or make a good portfolio here that I have flexibility to be able to do that. So much of I think when we feel a bit more settled in life, I think we would probably start venturing out into other businesses a bit more.
Yeah.
And will that be together, do you think, or independently, or both?
I'd like to say it's probably, if it's not everything, we'd probably have some involvement with each other in some aspects of the business. But for instance, Priya has a huge passion for events and hospitality. It's not something that I like. It's something that I can see makes a lot of money, but my passion is not there for that. But if she wanted to,
I think after this wedding, I'm done.
She might have a whole different perspective after her wedding, but it's one of those things that I think that there are very few people, I think, that you come across in life that you wholeheartedly trust, be it emotionally, financially, business-wise, mentally, however that is. And I think that we have been quite fortunate to have met each other in quite a short period of time, and to be able to know that if I was to make a decision, I know that Priya would make the same. However she came to that conclusion, we always end up at the same.
But we always have very, very
different thought processes. But we end up at the same.
Which is fine, but when we sit in, like, we have catch-ups most days now because things are so hectic. I'll sit across the room to her and I'll be like, but why? Why? She's like, can you let me finish? I'm like, no, tell me why now. Like, I need to know why. And so we get to the same thought process, but because we've got there so differently, my first question is always, why? What for? Like, makes no sense to me. But we have the same answer, which is, I guess, great, but we don't necessarily get there the most friendly way all the time.
Yeah.
So my first question is normally the why. That's my job here. So to ask you, how much of the working partnership is revolved around your why?
I guess I wouldn't be working if I didn't have a why. I feel like the why for me, our whys are very different as why we do this.
They're similar and different.
They're similar, but they're very...
The one that drives us the most for each other is very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like Amy's waiting for us to tell them.
Okay, so you tell...
No, you go first.
So for me, I was brought up in a single family household, and for me, I watched my mum struggle so much financially, and her whole plan in life was, no matter what you do, make sure you are always self-sufficient. So for me, having a property portfolio just meant that when I have children, I don't actually have to work, because my mum was a phenomenal human being. She worked 3 jobs, did a law degree, and had me by herself with no support system in London. For me, I just don't, and obviously that comes at a cost. You don't get to maybe come home for dinner all the time, or you have to kind of go to like after school clubs, etc. I was very aware that at no point would I want to be beholden financially to anybody else other than myself. And I also would want to be able to have a family and have the ability to be at home should I choose to. And again, just be on my own terms for that. So for me, it was a huge freedom, but not so much now as it is for the later part of my life. It is my main was the main reason I started to invest in property so young.
And with that, Jasmine, to then have your own children and to be there for them, how will they know the value of working, being at home? Because they'll take that for granted.
It's an endless cycle, isn't it? Because I think that you always want to give your family more than you ever had. And I think that's just a natural thing to want to do for somebody. But my work ethic has come from my mum. She is relentless. She does not let up. And she just, I mean, I'm very grateful now because she's starting to slow down, which I believe she totally deserves. But nobody if my family listens to this, I'm really sorry, but I genuinely believe that in my mum's side of the family, nobody works as hard as my mum does in terms of time, effort, energy she puts in. And I believe that I am the same. We don't sit and watch TV. We're constantly working, doing something. There's always something to do. And I think that for me, I just want to be able to make sure that I pass those traits down to my children. Whether they pick it up or not, I don't know, Amy. I'm gonna maybe I'll just have to be like, this is my money, not yours. Like, if you annoy me, you're not gonna get it. I don't know. Who knows the answer to that question? If somebody's got a tip, please feel free to like message us and let me know, because I guess it's even a conversation I've had with my other half about where do you both my other half and myself went to like public school, and I said, even if I had the money, I don't think I would send my children to private school. We have many discussions about this topic. And I think there are certain things in life that you can give to your children. But I personally am not a big believer anymore that an education that you get from schooling is as important as a life education, because we both went to public school. I have 2 degrees. I'm a pretty book smart human being, but there's something to be said for just being life smart. And I think that sometimes you need to be able to have a combination of both to be able to make it in business or to be able to be smart in life. And I think if you look at most successful business owners, they have a combination of both. So I don't know what I'll do. Hopefully my children are not brats. God only knows what they're going to turn out like. Maybe you can humble my children.
We can come back in 20 years, Amy, and let you know.
Oh God. She's trying to palm her children off to me. So if my children are brats, yours are also going to be.
No, they'll all be good children.
Probably not.
We're going to make them best friends, Amy. If they're not best friends, they're going to have some problems.
Just put them in a WhatsApp group and leave them to it.
Can you imagine?
Then they'll probably moan about us.
They'll probably be better friends than us. Start hating on, Mummy did this, my mum did this.
Oh my God, it's just, sometimes you see your whole life flash before you and it's a bit much.
Yeah, I think I had to take a step back after the morning.
I don't know, it's all much, it's all too much. What is your why, Priya?
It's very similar to Jasmine's in this sense. I had a bit of a different upbringing. My dad and mum worked very, very hard, and they kind of gave us a lot, me and my sister. So I just want to be able to kind of get upset.
Okay, I will finish this conversation for her because she's getting very much in her feelings.
No,
That's okay. You can do it.
So just be able for them to have an easier retirement. And
she'd like to be able to take care of her parents, for them not to want for anything. And I think that she very much learnt that from her dad, because he very much took care, was able to take care of his parents. So she would like to be able to do the same, just make sure that they don't want for anything. And if should they choose to travel the world, or should they choose to live in an amazing house nearer to Priya, which I'm sure she will force them to do.
Very much so.
She wants to be able to make sure that she has the flexibility to be able to help them.
And like Jasmine said as well, time was a huge thing growing up. I wouldn't see my dad most weeks. I wouldn't, he'd be working late. By the time he'd get home, I'd be in bed, school would start, and vice versa. And to be able to have that, I don't ever begrudge my parents for that, but growing up, no different. Now I look back at it at the age of 30 and I'm forever grateful for what they have given me. But at the age of 10, when everybody else is, doing things with their parents, and you're with your grandparents, or, at the after school club or whatever, and you're not really seeing them, and you kind of think, why? What have I done? But now, as you grow older,
again, pay them.
They did everything they could so we could be where we are today. And for that, for me, it only seems right to be able to give them a peaceful later life. And then they can have the grandchildren. There we go, we've got a babysitter, just remember them.
I'm not leaving my kid with your mum. She's just gonna...
My mum will be out with her girlfriends, taking the kids to some bar in the afternoon.
She can feed the children.
It's interesting, isn't it, to hear how much our past plays a part in our values, and often where there have been voids or where there's been a lack, that's where we then focus on it as adults in our own ways.
Very much so.
I think it's what Jasmine said, though. You always want to give a little bit more, and also differently to what you have. And I think it's also, we're both at stages of our lives where we're with other people, with the partners we are potentially going to spend the rest of our life with. And it's also down to them as well. Kind of, it's a product of my other half is super calm, and so I can see already traits that are coming into that I do not bring, and that's nice. So it's all kind of learning and growing together, I guess.
I don't know what you were saying. I think she's basically got in her feelings. Is what's happened. She's got in her feelings and trying to be philosophical.
No, but
what is it?
Yeah. Anyway,
it's true. I think it is that you don't. I think there's many things that drive us both. I think the common denominator for us has always been that we are very family orientated, very family driven. Our main goals are from, it doesn't matter what kind of spectrum of the wealth gap you're in, whether you're struggling every day to make ends meet, or whether you are struggling to make sure that your business is growing. The one thing none of us ever have or seem to have is time. And I think that time goes so quickly that it's very easy to miss all of the fun stuff, all of the good stuff, And
also just be present as well. Like, I feel like sometimes we get so caught up in everything. Like, I said something to my mum the other day. She goes, well, I've only got 20 years of life left anyway. And I said, sorry? How can you say something like that? She goes, think about it. I do.
20 good years.
20 good years.
20 good years.
My mum's 52.
But
when she says something like that, it really does put things into perspective. She's kind of, she's done most of her life now, right? So
the good thing for us is why we as well joined, for us as well, a huge benefit of having a business partner is that when there is something going on in your life, for instance, Priya's wedding is happening and she was having a conversation about going on honeymoon and she might not be here for 10 days. It's why you have a business partner, because that you're able to say, okay, for those 2 weeks, 10 days, however long I go away for, I can fully enjoy my time. I'm not worried about a business. I'm not worried about a leaking tap. I'm not worried about a tenant not paying rent. Somebody will have it. And I think there is something really quite special to be said about having somebody to take over a part of your business where you can enjoy birthdays or weddings or, you know, anniversary part, whatever life events you have with your friends and family, if you get to enjoy them wholeheartedly and not have to worry while you're there, I think it's really, really special.
So what's the message that you want to convey here to those who are listening? Who would you like to be speaking to?
I think everybody, to be honest. I think it's something that I think some people don't learn these life lessons until maybe that is a little bit too late, or sometimes you realize it a little bit too, you just haven't really even paid attention. There's no reflection upon what you feel like you could be giving to those, even just giving to yourself. Like I have said endlessly, and so has so many of Priya's friends and family, is that you get married once, hopefully, you know. But I'm sure that it will only be her one and only wedding. And I think that you should enjoy every single moment, and these moments pass you by. And although we are all striving to make money, to create a better life, it's not the be all and end all. It's there. It will never disappear. If you miss out on a property deal, it's okay. There'll be another one. It's just really, it's not if you don't answer the phone at 8 a.m. in the morning, it's okay. There are these things that I think that as business owners, landlords, property investors, you know, all these things that we're reading, and very little of them speak are actually about, you can focus on your why 100%, but are you even enjoying it while you're getting there? Like, are you having fun doing it? I think that we bicker. We've started to laugh at our office. Is starting to. We finished a box of tissues. We cry a lot in our office. Don't ask us why it's happened. I'm not even sure how this has happened, but at least once a week, one of us has cried in the office. It's all just a bit much for us.
I've been really good this week.
Yeah, so this week's been my week. But
I think another thing we need to think about as well is, like, if people listening to this wanting to get into property is so accessible in so many different forms for everybody, and there's a place for everybody in property. That's what makes the industry so beautiful. I think what we need to remember is that everybody has to have that self-belief and self-confidence that they're able to do this. Look at, like,
age, gender,
we're products of that. We've kind of gone against the grain. We've tried to be different, tried to stick to, even with our social media, we try to be very true to ourselves, not look at kind of what's going on out there too much, and just focus on the messages we want to give, and that's value and adding value to people's journeys, and, you know, looking at it. And that all comes down to, though, for social media, for example, one part, very small part of our business, we didn't want to do it from the get-go. We hated it. We had to push ourselves. And we both had our different reasons for not wanting to go on social media, but had we believed in ourselves a little bit more and had that confidence, who knows where we'd have been today, you know, because our social media has given us a lot of exposure, and kind of so many people get in touch with us saying, like, thank you. And for me, just that, it's not even business related. There's no monetary value involved, but somebody dropped a message saying, one day I hope that my girls will be like you two. That's phenomenal. Like,
yeah,
I think so. We're just like Priya and Jasmine from, like,
we find it still weird that people are following us on Instagram. We're like, how do people find us interesting?
Last week when we went to the site day, someone was like, oh, are you the hard hat developers? I actually turned around and said, sorry, do I know you?
Yeah, she's like, hi, how are you? Nice to meet you. And Priya's looking at her, and I'm like, she's like, oh, you are the hard hat developer. She's like, oh my God, I forgot we had a social media.
Yeah,
like,
because why would I, I was just having a little jolly, like why would I remember? Like it's part of us, but it's not like
it's not all
everything.
of us, yeah.
And I think, the self-belief and confidence that we've developed over the last 18 months or so has been incredible. And had we known that earlier,
I just started it when social media first came out.
Yeah.
So good for us. I think it is, yeah. I think it's just take a moment, enjoy, have fun. I honestly feel like have fun. Whatever you do, just try to laugh along the way. It's boring otherwise.
And why the hard hat developers? Where did that name come from?
Goodness.
We struggled for this for quite some time. We were literally...
This is the most boring. This is the most boring way someone's name was ever made.
I liked the word developer, and then she
wanted it to rhyme, not rhyme.
I liked alliteration, so like HH or whatever it was. We had pals and property at first. I really liked that, but then when we asked a few people, we did like a testing kind of thing.
We basically sat here with Priya's mum and sister, and then sent out names to a couple of friends, and then
it kind of worked. I think hard hat mainly came because we liked our logo more. And then it kind of worked backwards as such. We sat with a graphics guy and kind of worked backwards. There's no kind of elaborate story to that. We are not.
You know what? And it was like, just pick a name. There's a lot of snapping at each other. Just pick a bloody name. We need to get on social media. It's happening. There's a lot of prayer. Just hurry up. And I was like, oh.
We had 3 months of content, but no name. So we were like, we just need to get this done now.
I sat in a graphics meeting and I didn't understand what was happening. And they're like, what about this colour? I'm like, yeah, okay.
I loved that meeting. That was good.
Yeah, she loved it. I didn't really. Even like the little cartoon characters we have. Whereas like, what do you think? What shall we do? It'll be so cute. We'll get a little logo on our hats. I was like, okay.
But those...
I love them. I love them. They're my favourite.
For me, the purpose of those was so our face doesn't have to be everywhere. And so the cartoon character is in replacement of our face. However, people just like to see our face, is what we've learned.
No, if they only saw us on a day-to-day basis, Amy, I don't think they'd recognise us.
Oh, you two, you absolutely make me laugh. It's brilliant. I love hearing about it. And I love the way you finish each other's sentences. Well, to be fair, Jasmine more than Priya, but still...
Yeah.
She does normally. She's still in her feelings. I'm not.
she's having her wedding moments. It's the bridezilla.
Definitely not being bridezilla.
She's been very well behaved.
It's a huge thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I realised I've actually relinquished a lot. I'm a control freak, Amy, when it comes to my work, when it comes to everything.
Just life, okay?
Life, yeah. I'm a control freak. And to be honest, I think I've been pretty cool. I've actually been...
She has these moments where she's giving the control up, and then she wants affirmation about how good she is for giving the control up. And then she wants reassurance that it was the right decision to give control. And then she'll kind of try to get back involved. And then she'll be like, no, I don't even care. Yeah. But what are you doing?
That's literally my life at the moment.
And it's like on everything, like it could be about a piece of paper that got moved. We have this whole cycle, and you just have to say to her, "It's a good idea." Yeah.
I identify. Priya, I get it. That's me. and also, I just like to say, I've just celebrated 20 years married. We've been together 26 years now. So yeah, really enjoy that wedding. I have one piece of advice for you, and I give it to anyone who ever says, what should I do? And that is just to take snapshots or moments with your husband during the day. Just take a moment to reflect and look out on just so you're literally taking like a mental photograph together.
Are you getting upset?
No.
Okay, good.
Are you?
You like I'm a nervous wreck.
No, she's not nervous. She just like.
We went
in our culture to get married is a huge as a girl it's like leaving, like it's just such a big, it's just like your whole life you basically wait. You're basically, since the moment you were born, you were told you were going to get married, and everybody talks about your wedding until you actually get married.
And then what?
Then they're going to be like, when you're having kids, that'll be the next step. That will actually be the next step. But it's such a big build-up. It's not even like since you met the person, you talk about your wedding, your whole family talks about your wedding, and you might be like 12 and not even met anybody. Like you couldn't. It's just insane. So Big deal. It's fun.
I think-
I'm looking forward to the food.
The thing is, obviously, with COVID and everything, with Boris changing everything and, you know, not being able to plan, it's literally now it's about 2.5 weeks on Friday, and it's all kind of all go because nothing's been done. So that's kind of making it a little bit harder than normal life, but it's fine. And sometimes I was thinking to myself in the shower today that maybe it's good I didn't have 1 year to sit here and plan this, because I'd be going over all the little details 150 times and, you know, being pedantic. Whereas right now, my sister said, "Do you want blue flowers?" I said, "Okay, go for it." Like, and I would never want blue flower in my life because blue's not the thing I like. But right now, I'm like, okay, if it's
I like the energy. I'm here for. I feel like I keep on saying to her, just have fun as we do it. Like, it will just be fun. We'll be together, and none of us have had that for 1.5 years. But for both of us, as we said, that our families are such a big part of our lives. It's the reason you get to take a week off from your business, and you get to.
I thought I was starting tomorrow.
All right, fine. Take 2 months off. I don't mind. You're going to have to relinquish control. Are you going to be okay? I think it'll be fun. I just think we haven't had time with our families, especially Priya, in the last 1.5 years. Like, how could you not? It doesn't matter what the hell you do. You're all together, and I think that's the most important. Yeah. Then the second most important is that you're getting married. I feel like this podcast is
not what Amy had in mind today, and we've become very, very like personal, and it's not really something that we usually do either.
Yeah, we don't really like share our lives.
No.
That's the point. That's what this podcast does. It brings out the why, but underneath everything you're doing.
Yeah, it's been very different to anything we've done prior. So yeah.
You've got Priya to have an emotional moment, Amy. Who even are you? Look, how did this happen? Look at her.
I mean, it's happening quite often at the moment.
Not on a podcast, it's not. It's good. It's really, we just appreciate being able to kind of share a story and hopefully inspire somebody just to either take a moment, enjoy what they're doing, have a bit of fun, kind of,
and also get going. Have that belief. That's so super, super important.
Yeah, just to not be kind of bogged down by your own insecurities. It's not whatever the kind of bad voice in the back of your head is. It's not that deep.
I think you've really empowered people to think about a life of independence, of self-sufficiency, as you said earlier, of being really important to have that, having not wanting to struggle before, and have that independence, that confidence, and that self-belief, and proving just what is possible when you have all of that. So how would people get in contact with the Hard Hat developers, with you, Priya, and you, Jasmine?
You can drop us an email. I believe Amy has all the details. Or do you want me to say it now? Should I say it?
I will put it all in the show notes, but just say which is your preference, and then
emails on Instagram, because we're just better at that than we have the other portals. But we just kind of, it's a lot to handle. Social media, it could be a whole full-time job. So we just prefer Instagram and emails, because that's the quickest way to get a response out of us.
Perfect. I'll put those at the top, but it's always good to know. And do you have, well, firstly, I just want to say a couple of things, actually. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your journey and sharing how you have taken property into a space where you have excelled and allowed yourselves to have that freedom and be able to create the dreams of the future that are incredible. Well done. Thank you for sharing that. And good luck with the wedding. It's going to be fabulous. It's going to be an amazing day. Enjoy it, and you will remember every moment, because I still do now. And it's just, I was reflecting with my husband. We had a few days away recently to celebrate our 20 years, and it was like it was yesterday, albeit now we've got an 18-year-old and a 16-year-old in between, so all good. But yeah, thank you. Do you have some final words for the audience, please, both of you?
We actually got asked this a few weeks ago, and I think the most important thing I've learned in the last year is to be kind. So be kind to yourself, be true to yourself, and just get going in your journey and believe, and it will happen.
Yeah, I don't think I could put it any better. I don't know, I feel like there's just so much going on. I feel like just stop and smell the roses a little bit, honestly. I mean, there's so much like good stuff out there. Just be proud of what you're doing and just enjoy what you're doing and have fun doing it.
Thank you for listening to the Focus on Why podcast. I'm Amy Rowlinson, and if you've enjoyed this episode, please leave me a 5-star Apple Podcast review. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Instagram and Facebook, and become a member of my inspiring, uplifting and positive Focus on Why Facebook group. I help people to focus on their why with clarity, uniting their passion with their purpose with a plan to create the life they truly desire. If you would like me to help you focus on your why, then please book a free 20-minute coaching call via calendly.com/Amy Rowlinson. And if you haven't already, please sign up for the Friday Focus weekly newsletter via my website, amyrowlinson.com. Have a purpose, have a plan, focus on why.